So this is Smash. Come on.
Full disclosure, John. Full and honest disclosure. You've had a few too many beers to be on this podcast.
I haven't.
You've had at least 5 beers at this point, and I don't know if you're really qualified to be talking about day E3 day -1 right here on Rage Select.
I've only been drinking Dr. Pepper out of a 2-liter for most of the night.
Am I confusing me with you again? Is that what's going on?
You've had like 5 beers.
I've had 5. I got them like lined up. Well, welcome everybody. I don't know if this is ever going to see the light of day because the thing is that I went out to get some beers before the Bethesda conference started, and it was like an hour and 20 minutes long.
Yeah.
And I managed to go through 4 beers in that time period, 4.5. And so now we're going to record. They just keep backing it up. I'm actually curious, before we start, John, do you think that next year somebody's going to do some shit on Saturday?
Yes.
Because traditionally, Monday is like day 0. Because if you've ever actually been to E3...
Yeah, it's press conference day.
Right. If you've been to E3 before, the floor isn't open on Monday.
It's open on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Right, yeah. It opens up kind of early on Tuesday and then like regular on Wednesday, and then it stays open a little bit later on Thursday, and then you're done. So
yes. Monday,
when the Microsoft and Sony conferences tend to be, that's like your day 0. But now we have day -1 because today on Sunday, a bunch of shit happened. I'm wondering, who else do you think could have their own press conferences at this point? We've already have, Konami, Activision, EA, Square, Bethesda now have all, signed up to do their own conferences. Who else has the Moxie? Who else has the I guess Oculus had one like Thursday or something.
Yeah.
But that was real sad. Did you watch it?
I did not.
It was so sad because those poor guys, they had like a very small meeting. It wasn't like a stadium. It was a very small meeting area. And they would get up there and they'll be like, and we've partnered with Microsoft to have an Xbox One controller shipping with every Oculus. And then the guy would pause. The place where the teleprompter was like pause for applause. And then nothing. It was just fucking crickets. Like nobody clapped or did anything the entire time.
Nope.
But that's not what we're here to discuss.
We're here to talk about the Nintendo World Championships.
Yes.
Because that happened.
That's really the most important thing that happened
today.
I mean,
more important than that, they announced the release of the original Mother in the U.S. finally.
Yep.
As Earthbound something or other. I can't remember.
I don't remember what it was called either.
Revisited or something.
I'm gonna keep leaning on this. I've had like 4 beers thing, but see, it was weird because when they announced that, but right before they got, okay, listen. I don't know if having a podcast means that I'm never going to get to go to E3 again, especially when I'm drunk. But I know that the hosts of E3 are just a cavalcade of fake ass people who are pretending to be excited about things. I mean, at least in the Bethesda conference, Adam Sessler and Morgan Webb, they're like professional pretend being excited about things.
The thing is, I actually think they both actually do get excited. They just know how to hold their excitement in check to be able to talk functionally.
There was a good 10 minutes. It seemed like an hour and a half, but it's probably about 6 minutes where they were playing Yoshi's Woolly World.
Oh God!
Before the Nintendo thing started, and it was just like,
game looks great.
Hey, the game looks fantastic. You guys suck at Let's Plays. I mean, you got to get a couple. Everybody there was very good looking, and it was funny because the contrast between all of the good looking hosts and commentators and the actual people playing the games was staggering.
And even the people who were not the good-looking hosts that they would bring in during the tournament that were actually YouTube celebrities or whatever, like Andre the Black Nerd from Black Nerd Comedy, and stuff like that. It was just kind of it was still there was still a difference.
Yes, absolutely. It's you know what it is. It's almost like, and I think about this at E3 every year. It's like they don't know how to hide the fakeness.
No.
It's like they took a drama class in high school and they weren't that good at it, but it was enough. That's I want the video game industry to be able to hire people who are not stilted, are not who are just legitimately excited about this stuff. But then I guess it would just be a bunch of greasy nerds on stage. But anyway, so the E3, the Nintendo World Championship started. And before they started, they had one actual. They basically two announcements.
Technically early in the morning, before you and I probably woke up.
Yes,
they had their little.
Dude, I meant to be up for that.
Yeah, they had their little 18-minute long Smash Brothers Nintendo Direct.
God damn it.
Thing in which they announced a whole bunch of DLC for Smash Brothers that was also released today.
Okay. You actually watched that.
I did watch it, not live.
Tell the people about that part. Was it exciting?
For Smash Brothers, they announced new characters,
right?
Such as Roy, who is an old from Fire Emblem.
Okay,
he was in a previous Smash Brothers game. There was also Lucas from the Earthbound or Mother franchise,
right?
Who was also in a previous Smash Brothers game.
7-Up Cool Spot.
No.
Chester the Cheetah.
No.
The Noid.
No, none of those.
Okay, goddamn.
But and then they announced
the dude from McKids.
No.
Oh, that would be awesome.
No.
Okay,
but
all right.
but they announced Ryu from Street Fighter.
Right.
So that was the big one, and Ryu actually has some. They announced like all these differences with his character compared to every other character that they've released, which is he has different types of like he has a light attack and a strong attack for each button.
Okay.
And it depends on whether you tap the button or hold the button down, which is something that other characters don't have.
Yeah.
He has 2 Final Smash attacks, which no other character has.
Okay.
And they even fixed it so that you can do the actual, like to do a Hadouken, you can do it with just like one button press, or if you actually do the actual Street Fighter move for the Hadouken, it actually makes it a more powerful attack.
Okay.
So if you know the moves, you can do more powerful versions of them.
I don't like. I'll have to ask probably Aaron about this because I don't know. Maybe you know, but like there's a character they introduced to Killer Instinct recently that was like a Japanese ghost lady.
Yeah.
That was very similar in that her set of moves was very different than everybody else's set of moves, and I'm curious to know like if that's a strategy that pays off. Like if you have a character that's harder to play but their moves are more sophisticated, does it mean that just everybody who's good at Smash plays Ryu from here on out because he's got more flexibility and more moves than everybody else? But they did their thing. They
also had some new Mii costumes. They announced some new amiibos.
Okay.
They said that basically every character that's in Smash, even the DLC ones, at some point will have amiibos.
Okay.
So every character. So they announced some new ones that are about to come out, and then they announced that Roy and Ryu will have amiibos at an undetermined date.
Wow. I'm glad that people like amiibos.
Yeah.
I hope that Nintendo has finally learned their lesson about like manufacturing enough of them.
Yeah.
But that was like it seems so weird to me that was like in the morning. I mean, it might have been that it like streamed from Japan. I mean, I didn't watch it.
I don't know, but it was like early in the morning. Like, actually, I think our time it was probably like around about 10, 11 o'clock.
About 20 to 10 our time. So then there was like 10 to it was like 4 our time. There was like 5 or 6 hours worth of waiting until the Nintendo World Championships came on. Like I still don't understand why they do that. So the World Championship started.
They showed a previously unseen level from Yoshi's Woolly World, which whatever. And then they announced the Earthbound thing,
which is it seems a little bizarre to me because actually, you know what? I'm hoping it's a very good portent. Like I don't like the fact that Nintendo just keeps releasing previously created things, and this is just it's a thing that probably should have been released a long time ago. Mother 1 in America probably should have been issued in the Nintendo 64 era, right? When it was obvious that people liked this franchise, right? I was actually hoping at first that what he was talking about was Mother 3, which was released on the Game Boy Advance, I believe.
I think you're right.
In Japan, is either the Game Boy Advance or the DS a few years ago, and there's actually a whole fan project that was dedicated to translating it and updating it to make sure that it worked.
I'm hoping that we probably also get that as well at some point.
I really, really hope that that's the way that it is. I'd never beat Earthbound. Have you ever?
No. I've beaten it, or not beaten it. I played it. I've never beaten it.
I've heard some really like sick, weird, not sick.
I mean, when you think about it, when you think about the game, it's kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you legitimately, it's like you go out in the world and you beat up animals.
Yep.
You just like take a baseball bat to the heads of dogs and cats and snakes and
eventually aliens.
And then eventually aliens and other things. Which is, but I'm just saying, when you think about it, it's kind of fucked up.
It's a very surreal ass video game, and that's why I like the original one. In fact, I think that that was one of our first Sunday streams that Kayla and I ever did.
Yes, it was
on Mother's Day.
Yeah.
Probably a year ago. Yeah, because we did. Yeah,
because I was still working on Sundays back then. So,
but is it odd that I look at that and I go, it's real ugly. I mean, I know it's an NES game, but it's just a lot of white and black and nothing in between kind of textures. In any case, I'm sure. I mean, I don't know what a lot of people who have played it. And I'm sure there are plenty of people that will rave about it.
Yeah.
But from there, we went into the Nintendo World Championships, and they had some kind of it was a really complicated. It should have just probably been
I understood it, but it was convoluted.
I guess when they were explaining it, it seemed way more complex than it was.
Well, well, like I said, the way they did it is the first rounds were all team-based rounds, and then the losing team had to go into an underground match,
right,
in which they had to compete against each other with an old school game time trial kind of thing. And the winner of that gets to move forward. Then the next one is another team type of match, and then it wasn't the losing team gets knocked down. It was the winning team gets to advance, and then one player from the losing team gets knocked to the underground.
Every time everybody who was knocked out of whatever that bracket was went into basically a kind of gauntlet in quotey fingers the underground, where somebody won out. And that one person got to continue on, and then I believe it was that one person in the underground versus whoever came
versus out. 3 other people.
Okay, at the end, and so it started. So in above ground in the in the overworld, we had Splatoon,
a new game called Battle Ball or something like that. Maybe
it's a 3DS game that was 3-on-3. Kind of soccer meets Metroid Prime.
Yeah.
I mean, I've kind of gotten past the point where I want to shit on Nintendo about stuff, but how much would you pay for that game?
Not much.
I mean, $5 maybe?
Maybe.
Like an App Store download?
There would have to be more than what they showed.
Exactly. I mean, it wasn't, and it was weird because it was one of those things where Nintendo has enough games that they could be putting out there. I mean, I guess... I'm trying to think, because they did Splatoon, they did Mario Kart, they did Smash, obviously.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of what current games that are out there. Maybe Score Attack and Bayonetta for me would have been more interesting than some 3DS.
Yeah,
game.
but I think they wanted to only do things that Nintendo owns the rights to.
Yeah, maybe so. I guess
not Nintendo licensed projects.
I don't know. I guess I maybe would have rather seen a throwback to the Wizard where they had Super Mario Brothers 3.
Well, what I was expecting, in all honesty, when they said and now they're going to play a game that has never been seen before, I was like, oh shit, we're going to see some Star Fox.
Yeah, that would
literally.
Great.
I was like, we're going to see the versus mode for the new Star Fox. I literally, and then they were like, it's this game for the 3DS, and I'm like, oh, it's a really bad whatever of robot disco or robot derby disco dodgeball.
I mean,
whatever.
It didn't seem like a bad game. It's just running like Rage Select, right? And even back in the old days, and I'm sure you know this as well. There are some games out there that are super fun, not super fun to watch.
Yeah.
And that's what it seemed like, as a sort of thing that would have been very fun to play, but not really super incredible to watch. Especially because, and I can't tell. First of all, it was a 3DS screen that didn't even fill up the entire stream, right?
Yeah, they put it inside of the video inside of a 3DS
and why?
Picture.
Why? I mean, you know why. And then the other thing was that it seemed like everybody's camera was, or the person, they basically followed one person the entire time.
They would switch between one person on each team.
Were they even switching? They were switching?
Well, no, they were switching in between matches.
Oh, okay.
So it was
but people died in the match. I mean, basically the game is it's mechs, and there's a ball, and you have to shoot the ball into somebody else's goal, right? And every time you get a goal, the goal gets a little bit smaller, and there's some power ups and there's some stuff. But it seemed like also one of the other things was the camera was always locked on the ball. So, like, no matter where you moved, you could jump, you could move all around. But no matter what it was, the ball that you were jockeying for was always, like, dead center of your viewpoint, which, again, seems like it would be perfectly functional for a 3DS game, so you don't have to worry about, like, analog aiming or anything like that. On the other hand, it doesn't make it very fun to watch because it means that everybody's viewpoint is basically taken up with this ball.
Yeah.
You're not looking at the other mechs. You're not looking at any of that stuff. All right, so then after that, in the overworld, it was that, and then it was Mario Kart.
Mario Kart 8.
Right.
And then...
at 200cc, which was...
yeah.
kind of a weird, like, it wasn't... It was so fast, and the quality of the stream, I mean, I don't know if you found this, but the quality of the stream, the fact that they were cutting it into, like, 4 parts, it's very difficult to see anything that was happening.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was kind of weird, especially with the fact that one of the maps that they, or one of the tracks that they chose, is like the smallest track in the game.
Oh yeah.
Which is the baby, the baby circuit.
Oh okay.
Which it's literally just a circle.
Okay.
It's a tiny circle, and at that speed. Like, they even made the joke when they started the round. It was like, okay, and the match is over.
Right.
You know, like, literally, it was. They made the joke because it's true, because it's a tiny. You know, it's a very tiny track.
Okay.
And it's funny because I'm watching it and I'm looking at it because I just got through a Mario Kart tournament at work at my job. My job is all about video game tournaments.
tournaments all the time.
Yeah,
what are you talking
they
about?
just started. They
you
just
talked
started.
about that
It's
at all on the
really
show.
crazy. It's really crazy. Like, they had a
You got
Mortal
eliminated
Kombat
already?
Yeah, oh, yeah, it already ended. But yeah, I got eliminated.
Okay.
I got eliminated by the person who brought their Wii U in so that we could have the tournament. So
Dude, you need to have them have a Bloodborne tournament. You'd be so good. You just call me in. Like, you'd be like, hey, what's that over there? And then put in my password, and I'll be like, oh, who's this guy in my game? I don't know.
Yeah,
what this is.
So I'm sitting there. It's kind of funny because I was like, everyone was making fun of Aaron from Game Grumps, who was on it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
like, literally, my immediate reaction was like, oh, his card is the worst for that specific track because it's really heavy and takes a long time to get speed up. Amanda, my girlfriend, is in the room going, you knew that way too easily. And I was like, I just had to go through it.
And then from there, let's see. Okay, let's transition back to the underground because you're going to have to fill in the Smash Brothers parts because that was, I think, when I had to walk my dog.
Yeah.
But, so in the underground, they basically had like traditional NES games where everybody had to basically
Get to the end of something.
or race for points in a time span.
Yeah, like
because the first one was
the first
Zelda?
one was Zelda, and it was a dungeon to get a piece of the Triforce.
It was the first dungeon. Like,
yeah,
how fast can you get through the first dungeon and kill the
collect,
first boss?
Yeah, and collect the first Triforce. And it wasn't one of those things where they were like, oh, and you may be able to, beat the game by using, tricks or whatever,
Right.
Glitches, but you can't do that because the purpose of this is to get this specific piece. Like, if
Right.
you try to beat the game, you lose.
Right.
Essentially. And people were doing things that were. Like glitches or whatever, like if you go into the dungeon and then exit the dungeon and then go back in, it actually unlocks a door without needing a key.
Oh, is that what they were doing?
Yeah, so they
I thought
were
it was just some
all
dude being terrible at the game.
Yeah, no, they were all doing that to get through it quicker. They were using game
Okay.
glitches to do it, which is kind of cool. And then the second one was Metroid, Super Metroid, in which they basically were given the Mother Brain fight, and the point of it was who can beat Mother Brain and then get to the end of the level the fastest.
I would just like to take a moment to say that I don't understand the people that are in this Nintendo World Championship. There was at least, because there was like, what, 4 or 5 of them that were all doing this at the same time?
Yeah.
Like, only 2 of them, like, immediately turned on their missiles and started blowing up the Mother Brain shell to get out of there.
Well, only 2 of them actually, like, didn't die.
Yeah.
Fighting Mother Brain.
And here's the other thing is that throughout, and it seemed more egregious in these parts than in other parts, they should have given them some classic controllers. Because it was obvious that they were playing with the Wii U pad because they kept bringing up the menus.
One of the guys the guy who didn't win, but who also got past Mother Brain, I don't know if anyone noticed what he did. So everyone made a joke about, because everyone kept hitting the home button and going to the home screen. Well, he did it before they started the match. Mm-hmm. And then while they were fiddling with it, he went into the controller options and changed the controller settings for the controller.
Okay. But what did he change?
He actually changed some of the button loadouts.
Huh, okay.
Like he switched 2 of the buttons. Like instead of it being like B and A, he changed it to A, B. Or
Whatever.
B, however, he changed the button loadout. And I'm sitting there going, he's actually, for a long portion of it, he was doing better than everybody else.
Oh, yeah.
And I was just like, huh. I think, and I was kind of wondering if everyone was confused by the button layout or something.
I think it's just, as a professional Super Nintendo Super Metroid player, John. I mean, it's somebody.
We know you can beat it in
Super
like 10
Metroid,
minutes.
It's I've got it down to like 75 seconds.
Oh,
right?
okay.
It's not even a problem.
I mean, you beat it while we were just sitting here talking.
No,
it's crazy.
But here's the thing: is that I was watching them play this. Right, the fight against Mother Brain in Super Metroid is not hard.
No.
You just blast missiles until that shit's open, then you just spam missiles until she's
it just
dead.
takes a while.
Right. But I saw people that were just wallowing in the acid below Mother Brain. And then after that, even the guy who was winning, where it's just like all you have to do is run and shoot some space pirates and then run some more. And it's like at the very end, when you're jumping out of Zebus or whatever. And like at the beginning of the game, when you're jumping out of the space station and it tilts and suddenly it's like everything is sideways. It doesn't even do that in this game. And dude was just like falling. And it was like, come on, man. Like, yo, I know Super Metroid is like super hard and only the most hardened seasoned professionals can beat it, obviously.
Yeah.
But like this is ridiculous. You're in the Nintendo World Championships. Practice some Metroid before you come over here. They're probably going to throw some Metroid at you.
Yeah. And then the last of the underground stuff was Balloon Fight.
Fuck Balloon Fight. Fuck Balloon Fight. It was the original Flappy Bird. Like, it was terrible.
It was the balloon trip mode where basically it was just collect as many many balloons as you can, and whoever has the highest score at the end.
Yeah, if you die, you start over
to the final four.
Yeah. And that was where the Rage Select champion Bananas finally got knocked out of the game.
Yeah.
Fucking Balloon Fight. I mean, come on, like Nintendo. Come on.
Yeah.
Like,
the only thing that annoyed me about Balloon Fight was the fact that the three commentators they all made the same joke and then continued to repeat that joke as much as possible.
What was the
which
joke?
is Balloon Fight, only the most vicious, most bloody thing ever in Nintendo's history. It's the most violent graphical game ever. It's okay, guys, you just stop.
No, you're good. You're good.
You're good. Okay, you're doing
You're
it
good.
again. Okay.
Okay, so then from there we got to Smash Brothers.
We got
that was the above ground. We got
above ground. We got Smash Brothers, which was all right. Everyone, I don't think they had any access to the DLC characters.
Okay. Wait. Before Smash Brothers.
Before Smash Brothers.
Before Smash Brothers.
It was Reggie versus last year's Smash Brothers tournament winner.
Yeah, there was some shit talking at the end of last year's tournament where Reggie was like, "Oh, I'll come back. I'll practice, and I'll come back and whoop your ass." And Reggie got his fucking ass kicked, like worse than I've ever seen in a Smash Brothers tournament. He was playing Ryu, and the other guy was playing goddamn Jigglypuff, and they didn't.
Hey. Jigglypuff ain't nothing to fuck with.
No, I know this. I'm damning Jigglypuff because Jigglypuff is a son of a bitch. I don't know who was running like the camera switches at the E3 press conference, but they kept cutting away at like the most inopportune times. And one of the times that they definitely cut away was, and it was at 1 second. I'm waiting for somebody to go back and screen capture it off of Twitch, where it showed how many times the guy playing Jigglypuff killed Reggie because it was ridiculous. It was fucking like from the beginning of the match, like Reggie fell off the edge and then just died. Yeah. And then he just died again. And he just died again. And like the dude playing Jigglypuff, I think he got like 2 on the guy playing Jigglypuff. And I'm not even being like hyperbolic when I say that dude must have whooped Reggie's ass at least 12 times in that one round. In fact, he even like I don't even know if it was a joke that he was saying at the beginning where he's like, if I win, I'm authorized to offer you a job at Nintendo. And the guy who was challenging him was just like, man, I'm an engineer. I've already got a job. It was just like, the whole thing was the most entertaining part of the entire conference because it was just watching Reggie get his ass kicked and watching this other guy just not give a fuck about kicking Reggie's ass on stage. But then the actual players happened. This is when I went and walked my dog. So you have to say.
Yeah, so then they had their thing.
Big upsets.
I'm going to be honest. I kind of wasn't really watching it. I was actually, because that's around the time that Money in the Bank for WWE, the pay-per-view started. So I kind of was paying more attention to that.
Yeah.
Just
because.
It
isn't like, I mean, were there any like big upsets? Did you hear? I
mean, there was some, but not really. I mean, it was pretty normal fight, I guess you could say. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I wasn't really fully.
Okay. We're just going to skip over this part then. I don't want you to have to make statements about a match that you weren't really.
Yeah.
How was the WWE during the time? when Smash Brothers was on?
It was there was a whole Money in the Bank ladder match. It was good. It was
great?
The person I wanted to win at least won. So there's that.
Okay, there you go.
So fuck Sheamus. I don't know.
Okay.
Anyways, moving on.
Yep.
Then there was the finals, which was.
That's when I got back. Was a little just like a brief bit after the finals started, which was Mario Maker.
Yeah, Mario Maker
with some fucking diabolical Mario levels that some motherfuckers made.
Damn, those were diabolical.
I mean, listen, they weren't as bad as some that I've seen, where it's like you have to cheese dick your way through the level by going bouncing between two turtles up in order to get through a bunch of fire wands or whatever. But they were still pretty hectic. Yeah. And there was at least two things that I saw in there that I've never seen in a Mario game before. Well, actually, there were several things I'd never seen in a Mario game before. One of them was that you can apparently use enemies as hats now. There was a spiny hat and one of the Beatles.
I don't know what they're called, but I know what you're talking about.
One of those. Also, there was a level where the guy was driving essentially Bowser's cart from Super Mario World at the end.
Mario World,
Apparently, you can throw a mushroom on any enemy, and they get gigantic. We saw gigantic versions of all kinds of shit, kind of like Super Mario Brothers 3 World 4, right?
Yeah. No, it was, like I said, looking at the levels that they were playing through as they were playing through them, one, I was actually like, oh, are they going to make it? And then sometimes I'd be watching them like, oh, they need to do this, and then they'd realize how to do it, and it's like, all right, let's go, come on. Or can they do it, or sometimes they'd be fucking up so badly, and it'd just be like, oh my God, what are you doing? And then the next guy would go do it, and he would just fucking kill it.
Well, it actually the interesting thing about watching it was it seemed like everybody's first run was their best. It's like your first run was about 65%, right?
Yeah.
And then you would go back and psych yourself out because you knew it was coming, and you're not just reacting to it. You're thinking about, oh shit, there's chain chomps over there or whatever.
Yeah.
Then they would fuck up for a good 4 or 5 more runs, and then they would finally manage to go forward. Also, what the fuck is with that Kuribo high heel? I've never seen that before.
I've never seen that before either. I mean, it could be from I don't know. I don't know what it's from. But
there was a part where the dude got in the Kuribo high heel and then went inside of the Bowser copter with the Kuribo high heel on. Yeah. And it was just like, what? I mean, my brain just exploded at that. I was like, what? But yeah, Mario Maker looks fun. As long as I don't have to make those levels. Just download them from the internet.
Oh, man. I'm so looking forward to Mario Maker, actually. Because I will play with making levels, and then I will also download the shit ton of stuff that people make. Because it looks like there's going to be... You can just make some crazy fucking levels.
Yeah. And so then after that, a winner was announced. They gave him a big gold trophy that had a bunch of fingerprints on it.
Fellow John won. John Numbers, if I remember correctly.
And both him and the runner-up got a signed by Shigeru Miyamoto new 3DS.
Yes.
And that was it.
That was the tournament.
And it was what it was. It was okay. Here's the thing. On any random given day, if we were to have that and watch it, it would be fine.
Yeah.
The fact that it was the thing before the Bethesda conference meant that it was just like, fucking go, I need to see some shit, right? That we're on the verge of E3. If this had been happening a month ago before...
Well, I think Nintendo set it up on Sunday, not realizing someone else would also be having something on Sunday.
Yeah.
And then when they heard about Bethesda, went, well... Fuck.
Because last year when they had their Smash Brothers tournament, that was after all the conferences have been
correct.
Done, where it's just what are you going to watch? You're going to watch somebody give the developer of No Man's Sky a 6th interview where he says the same thing? Or, hey, this Smash Brothers concert.
And I think last year they were like, we kind of did it during E3, and we kind of split our viewers, so why don't we do it Sunday before all of that?
Right.
And then we'll do it on a day where there's no conferences, and we'll be good. Then Bethesda comes out, we're doing it Sunday evening, and Nintendo's like, well, at least we're doing ours way before yours.
Yeah.
Damn it.
But that's pretty much everything that there is to talk about Nintendo, and
until Tuesday.
Until Tuesday. That was actually one of those things I was in the chat where a lot of people are just like, what did they announce? And I'm like, dude, nothing. They're not going to announce anything until Tuesday.
Oh my God, in that chat I was like, guys, this is not their E3.
This is for funsies.
This is for fun. Their thing is coming on. Look, all they announced was these two things. What this is bullshit,
right?
And it's like, no, guys, no, wait. Wait.
Yeah. And so then we had about 30 minutes and the Bethesda conference started. But because I have had 4 beers, I'm going to call a break so that I can go pee and smoke. And then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about Bethesda.
Cool, because that gives me time to actually do something that we'll probably end up talking about during the stream.
Okay, great. Because I know that all of you guys want us to immediately start talking about Bethesda, but just like Bethesda teased us all the way to the end, so will I do to you. So we'll be back in 10 seconds of interstitial music.
Yes.
We're back, and it's time to talk about Bethesda's first effort at an E3 podcast.
You mean E3 press event?
E3. Sorry.
Go home, Jeff. You're drunk.
I was going to start over, but no. John, you've had too many beers. You've had far too many beers to be doing this. You just opened a 6-1. You drank an entire 6-pack while we've been doing this podcast.
Jeff,
I don't know. You might have a problem.
Jeff.
What's that?
Again, you're confusing me with you.
What?
It's you that's on your 6th beer.
Son of a bitch. All right. I need to shave my beard so that it looks like yours so that I can tell us apart.
Yeah.
But no, this was we had Bethesda's first E3 press event. And I got to say that in the lead up to this, I don't know that in any years past that, maybe when Skyrim was coming out, they could have had a press event. They've definitely, as being the fact that after they got purchased by ZeniMax, that they're now the Evil Within and Wolfenstein and Elder Scrolls Online. I feel like Bethesda's they used to be one of those companies, kind of like Blizzard, right? That just put out one game.
Yeah,
we're just working on one game, putting out one game. This year, we're putting out Skyrim.
Yeah,
right. And now they've got a whole suite of things, and this was actually pretty impressive. They had Adam Sessler and Morgan Webb to come over.
I'm going to say something. Since you brought it up.
Okay.
Is it weird to me that it feels like all the former people of G4 are now taking over the press events for E3? You had Kevin Pereira hosting the Nintendo World Series 2000 video game championship, whatever, 2015, and then now you have Adam Sessler and Morgan Webb doing the intro and outro for Bethesda's.
I'm going to let you in a little secret, John.
What's that?
I haven't had cable in 20 years, so
you didn't know.
Is that I've never watched G4.
Oh, okay.
I watched GameSpot, and then I went over to Giant Bomb when Ryan and Jeff and all of them left, and Brad went over to Giant Bomb, and then once I started my own gaming website, I learned I have to stop watching these because these guys are too funny, and I've got bad crypto memory, so I just want to make their jokes whenever I hear them. The thing is that for somebody was actually. I know that Adam Sessler has he has a weird reputation, right? At the Doritos and Mountain Dew King thing and whatever. But the thing is that I've actually looked at his YouTube channel. I think he's on the same channel that Brushwood used to be on, right?
Rev 3, Rev 3.
Right?
He used to do a thing on there, yeah.
And he just had a show where he would just come on and be 10 minutes of just hey, I want to talk about this week.
Yeah.
And in that way,
Sessler's soapbox, essentially.
Yeah. He's a good, I'm going to say this. I don't really know much about Morgan Webb. She seems all right. I don't really know that much about her. But Adam Sessler is the kind of guy that I want to host. He's the guy that I want to watch on a gaming news thing because he's legitimately seems like he plays fucking video games.
Yeah. Morgan Webb's kind of the same way. She's a little bit more... she's a little bit more the hot chick that that the studios want to be in front of these things, but she does have the gaming chops as well,
right?
Because I remember back when when they did G4 and they were doing X-Play, Morgan Webb was not the original co-host with Adam Sessler.
Okay,
she replaced the original co-host because the original co-host left because apparently her and Adam didn't really see eye to eye.
Okay.
And then there were a few subs in between that kind of very clear that they didn't know what they were a lot about video games and couldn't keep up with Adam.
Okay.
And then she kind of came in, and the first episode, he kind of seemed like he was being obnoxious to her. Mm-hmm. And then she started
hazing.
Hazing. And she started giving him shit back.
Good.
And then he went, "Oh, I like you." Kind of like, "Oh, we're gonna get along great." And then X-Play essentially became the good show that it was.
I'll tell you what. When I was listening to Morgan Webb talk about Fallout, she seemed to be legitimately talking about Fallout.
Yes.
Whereas there was this blonde lady on the treehouse.
Yeah.
That seemed like she was regurgitating like teleprompter lines about the games that she was talking about.
Entry,
right. Exactly. So anyway. So the Bethesda conference starts off, and they start off, and it was terrifying because I thought for a moment they were going to go full EA on us because it's just like
because they started off with this. Here's all of our people who work here.
Here's a montage. Here's a lady with like pink and purple dreadlocks.
I really liked your comment in the chat. Like, I'm waiting for a cut to someone going, "I just killed a guy."
Right, because they're chopping between all these different people who work for them. And they're just like, every one of them looks like a hipster scumbag. I swear to God, like, I'm sorry, you guys, you seem fine, right? But like, oh, well, no, okay, I'm going to take it back. We're watching it. We're actually having it on in the background right now. And so half of them seem like hipster scumbags. The other half of them just seem
they all seem like, here's
greasy
the thing.
game nerds.
Having worked for a video game company for a while, I can say that these look like people who work at video game companies.
Okay.
That's
half hipsters, half greasy gaming scumbags.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So from there, we got a little like it was kind of weird. It was a little like sizzle reel of the things that Bethesda's put out. Okay, whatever. Show us some new shit.
Done to Tick 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 Boom by I forget who it was, but it was a song that was in Lego Rock Band, and it was pretty awesome in that game. Yeah.
He was saying tick.
It's tick 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 boom.
Okay, all I heard at the end
is dick 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 boom. I'm sure. Yeah.
I mean, I was what you were one beer in at that point, so I can't say that I wasn't like going through your drunken perceptions, right? But so okay, so they brought it out and they finally did a thing they've only been talking about for a zillion billion million years, and they showed us some friggin' Doom. And okay. This is the problem that you have when you've been watching E3 for 10 years.
Yes.
And then Bethesda shows you the new Doom.
Yes. Well, I think this is what we discussed earlier.
Yep. This is a very generic-looking video game. Like, if you take the name off of this, it looks like a pretty generic first-person shooter.
I don't agree with that.
Okay.
I mean, I think it looks... Because, I mean, as far as looking at it, I mean, as far as... the level design, it's a little generic,
right?
But I think with the amount of polish that's on the level design, and the fidelity and everything that you're looking at, this looks like something that you might see come out of a studio. Maybe not on the level of say Blur, but something that comes out of like one of those CGI trailer, cutscene trailer.
Okay, so I guess here's kind of where I'm coming from, right?
Yeah.
The trailers for Doom 3 before Doom 3 came out, right?
Yeah.
Were the best looking video game engine trailers I'd ever seen in my entire life.
Yes.
Doom 3 was a boring ass video game.
Yes, it was.
Okay, so here's the thing is that I look at these and everything in here looks very good, right? But and there's this whole system that they've got of like execution maneuvers, and even those look very good. But then I look at this through the lens of something like, say, Bulletstorm. And I go, Bulletstorm had a lot of creative violence in it, but it also had a level of freedom to that creativity. Whereas here it seems like you're doing one of a couple different things. You're shooting things, you're executing things, and then later on there's a very quiet part where they have a puzzle that you have to solve, right?
Which was very humorous.
It was. No, it was good. I mean, you got a hand, and I
got to hand it to him.
I kicked that off, and the whole chat was just like, good hand puns. All right, great. This is what we're doing now. I guess the thing that I just want is that, okay, so when I see, the way that I look at this trailer, right, is if this was a trailer that was shown at the EA press conference, and this was called Hellblood, right?
Okay.
We would be looking at this trailer and going like, it looks pretty good. Those of us that have been playing games for years and years and years.
Again, I would look at this and go, man, the graphics. I mean, its design is a little generic, like you said,
right?
But I mean, the fluidity of everything, the animation, the depth of the detail as far as the character models go,
right?
All that looks really, really good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Almost too good.
Yeah, you have this weird conspiracy theory with Doom that I understand, where you like, even in the chat, you're just like, I don't trust this shit, you guys.
I've become very, very paranoid when it comes to E3 demos, trailers, whatever. But it's less that it looks too good. It's that the movement is too fluid. Mm-hmm. It is like, usually you don't see this kind of fluid motion in a game.
Is it just the frame rate? Is it just the fact that
it could be the frame rate,
frames per second,
but it's also
really
the way
good?
He's moving.
Uh-huh.
It's not like he's moving in a way that I would like. Here's the thing: when I watch someone play a game, or when I'm playing a game,
right,
I don't move like that.
Okay, I'm going to tell you this right now. This guy's using I've done this enough. This guy's using a controller. I can tell from the way that he's moving around. I'd be willing to bet that he's using a controller and that he's played this particular segment a zillion billion times before. But I don't see. I guess we talked about this, or I talked about this. I can't remember where, because you've had 5 beers and it's clouding my judgment. A little while back, where I say we have a ton of stories and movies, or not. I guess not movies, but we have a ton of stories that are all based around the whole hell is making an incursion into our world storyline, right?
What was that movie with The Rock?
Well, yeah, that what was it called?
I think it was also called Doom.
Quake 2? It's called Quake 2.
I think it was called Doom.
Quake 2 Electric Boogaloo. But, okay, so when it comes down to video games, whenever I'm making an evaluation about a video game, this is what I look at, right? If you're focusing on gameplay, your gameplay needs to be showing me something that I've never ever seen before. And this is not really doing that. It's definitely dramatic, but it seems to be falling back on the old id tropes of look how good this looks.
Yeah,
not look how good
gory,
this plays.
how bloody it
right.
looks, and
again, I hate to keep going back to, but take Bulletstorm for example, right?
Yeah.
If Bulletstorm looked like a shitty old PlayStation 1 game, it would still be fun because of the way that the action is presented.
Yeah.
And in here, I'm seeing a lot of here's a guy. He's snarling. You're going to go up and you're going to kill him. You're going to kill him with the machine gun, shotgun, chainsaw, whatever, right? Like in the original Doom and Doom 2, you had these situations of tons of enemies. I feel like the Serious Sam franchise has done a better job of being Doom than Doom has. Or what's the one, Painkiller, right?
Yeah.
That does big mobs, right?
Painkiller was more of a Quake thing.
Okay. Well, I
felt like it was like where Serious Sam was being Doom.
Right.
I feel like Painkiller was being Quake and taking it to the next level.
So again, I don't want to judge this before it comes out, because quite frankly, the level of ultraviolence in this trailer is directly up my alley. It's something that I love. I like the creativity that I see here.
I mean, come on, they even ended the demo with a demon ripping your arm off and then beating you to death with it.
Absolutely. That's all great. I guess I'm wondering, is it going to be able with Doom to break their their streak of having games where nobody really gives a fucking shit about the storyline?
Yeah.
Because Rage, nobody really gave a shit about the storyline. Right?
I never even played Rage.
Doom 3, nobody really gave a shit about the storyline.
I barely played Doom 3.
Quake Arena, there was no storyline.
I love Quake Arena.
The only game that I can think of that had a storyline that I was even marginally interested in was Quake 2, where they tried to develop the storyline of this whole you're getting chopped up and you're getting made into this weird hybrid and blah 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 blah. But you know what? Again, these are just first impressions. I don't want to judge before it's out.
Yeah.
So
I think it looks good.
I think it looks good too.
Again, the pessimist or whatever you want to call it, the skeptic in me goes, but was that really footage, or was that basically a CGI or cutscene designed to look as much like as an actual person playing the game as possible?
I'm gonna be real honest with you. The skeptic in me goes, is this just Doom 3 with an execution mechanic? Is that all that it is? Is that it? Because if it is,
Doom 3 didn't move this fast.
That's it's been a long time since I played it, but I mean, that everybody kept talking about how fast it moved, and I guess I just didn't really see that. But because I was expecting like nauseatingly sick 360-degree turns and things like that.
Yeah.
But they also showed that there's going to be
multiplayer,
adversarial multiplayer. There's also going to be this whole thing. What's it called?
Snap maps.
Snap maps,
Doom
where you
snap
can
maps.
basically kind of procedurally generate your own
so
shit.
To kind of come into it's basically if you know of Halo, it's Halo's Forge mode, but like with like multiplied by fuck you.
But wasn't Forge mode like you couldn't alter the geometry of maps,
and like
right?
I mean you basically create the level essentially in Forge mode. Like I said, it's multiplied by, like, they changed it up to when it's like, oh no, you can do more than just create a level.
Right.
You can actually edit how the game mechanics work.
But I guess there's a very quick screenshot when they're talking about that where you see like an overhead map where it's like putting rooms together. To the point where it's going to be able to be edited. I don't know. I mean, it seems really interesting.
Yeah, no, I'm actually like, I'm looking at that going, that looks badass.
You can make co-op campaigns, you can make adversarial maps, you can make all kinds of stuff, and then they go one step further to show this whole thing of like editing the nodes of you pick this thing up and it spawns this kind of thing, you pick this thing up, it spawns this kind of thing. I think this stuff is all great. Like, I have no interest in actually using it, but it's great for extending the longevity of any game.
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
And the fact that they want to be that open to modding and at least level creation with their game is
well. I mean, because the whole Doom and Quake mod community from the beginning was always kind of the thing that kept the games going, like long after they should have stopped.
Absolutely.
So this is only supporting that to a level that I think it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it's going to be really good. If the game itself ends up being very fun, and then this ends up essentially giving the game an infinite amount of replayability by letting people build their own things, who's against that?
Yeah.
Who's going to look at this and go, go fuck yourself?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Now, I'll tell you what I will say, go fuck yourself, and I might actually be saying these things out of order. But I think it was after this announcement, again, my dog has been drinking a lot.
Your dog?
My dog he's had a lot of whiskey. It's just bad. Was it after this where they announced their bullshit?
Bethesda Net?
Yes.
Yeah. No, it was.
Go fuck yourself, Bethesda.
Which is hilarious because I brought this up to you before we started recording. Like, the further we got into the Bethesda thing, I was going, man, they're really trying hard to be Blizzard.
Yeah.
Because now they're doing Bethesda.net, which is their all-encompassing thing for their games, like servers for their games and stuff like that.
It's Uplay, right?
Well, I don't know. Because the way...
Is it a store, or is it just like a Games for Windows Live replacement, essentially?
It kind of came off as something, probably somewhere in between either Uplay or what Battle.net currently is.
I am not... Oh, okay. If it's just... Bethesda doesn't put out enough games. Okay.
They don't put out enough games for them to do like an Origin or a Uplay.
God, just like please let it not be Origin. Please let it not be Origin because,
or Uplay.
I mean, well, see, the thing is that like I'd rather it be Uplay than Origin because Origin divides my gaming library, right?
Yeah.
Like, I have Steam games that run Uplay when they launch, and it's fucking irritating as shit.
I think you're going to get that. I think you're going to get that. I think it's going to be sold through Steam because if I remember correctly, there are Bethesda games that they announced that this, like Fallout 4 is said to be part of this thing, and it's for pre-order on Steam.
Right.
So I mean, it's one of those things that it's not going to be. They're not going to separate it so that you can't buy it on Steam.
Look,
but I think it is going to be something like Uplay where you have to you go essentially what it's doing, and I don't think it's going to be a thing like Uplay where it's launching its own like secondary app. I think it's going to be something where all the network, everything that the game does for networking, is all going to go through their servers.
I think it's going to be like Uplay.
Yeah,
I honestly think it's going to be exactly like Uplay, and it sucks because
Uplay's terrible.
No. Well, no, I guess that's just what I'm saying is I thought that we were kind of past this, that may have been naive of me because, like, okay, look, I like GOG and I like the fact that they've released their own client in Good Old
For
Games
DRM
Galaxy.
free games.
Right, exactly. I think that's incredible. I personally don't use it because I've got like 400 Steam games, and I'm like, I can't move.
I mean, there are a few games that I found on Good Old Games that I can't get on Steam, so I've bought those.
And I think that's great. I think if you're looking for like retro games, that's great. But between that and then Origin and then Oculus announced their like store in their press conference, where it's like, here's Oculus Butthole, where you can go and buy games and connect to your friends and join their games. It's just like,
seems really bad marketing for them to call it Oculus Butthole.
You know, man, I'm not Palmer Luckey, and I can't talk about the number of beers that he's had. All right, I just talk about the number of beers that my dog has had. What a terrible fucking idea! Come on, man.
Again, I think they're trying to be Blizzard.
Ah, God, come on. Well,
I think they're trying to be Blizzard.
Well, I tell you what, that comparison holds a lot of water, because right after that, was that when they did Elder Scrolls? When they
no, it was
pissed through
they went,
battle.
I think they went to Battle Cry.
Battle Cry,
which is their like arena shooter combat.
You know what I liked
game.
about their Battle Cry announcement was the fact that they knew that nobody gave a shit about Battle Cry. Where they were just like, get it up there and then get it off stage.
Yeah, they were like, hey, if you want to be part of the beta, go sign up for it. Which, for those who are listening who are thinking, John, you need to sign up for that beta, so that you guys can play it on Super Awesome Video Game Show. Don't worry, I've already submitted.
He totes did.
I did it on my phone right before we started recording.
I mean, when I look at this, do you have any interest in playing this whatsoever?
No, not at all.
That's the thing, is that like this is one of those things.
It looks like Team Fortress 2 with Melee.
It's one of those things where when you talk about Blizzard, where I look at this and I just go, Overstrike?
Yeah, Overstrike, I think it's called. Yeah,
is going to eat your fucking lunch. Like, nobody's. Not that this is even directly competing with that, but nobody's going to give a shit about this.
Yeah.
The same way that nobody really, Bethesda, I love you, and I love Elder Scrolls, and send me a copy of Elder Scrolls 6 when it comes out for review purposes, please. But I don't know anybody that plays Elder Scrolls Online. I've never seen.
I know a few people.
Really?
Yeah.
Do they like it?
They seem to.
Are they into it?
But then they're huge into MMOs, so that's their thing.
Great.
Mind you, they didn't play it until it came out on console. So.
I mean, I thought that Elder Scrolls Online was going to be the last nail in the coffin of like, okay, nobody makes MMOs they expect you to pay for anymore. Because this week, Elder Scrolls Online came out on the PS4 and Xbox One, and it's free to play.
Yeah.
You just buy it and you play it.
As long as you have, Xbox Live Gold or PlayStation Plus.
Right. Speaking of which, they did show that next, right? They showed, because we only got a couple things left. Was that the thing that was next?
Which thing?
The Elder Scrolls Online? Were they? Oh no. Okay.
No.
2.
It was Dishonored 2.
Okay. Surprise! Dishonored 2.
Yeah, well, it was like the guys they didn't actually say Dishonored. Like the two guys came out,
right?
But one of them is totally wearing a Dishonored shirt, so it's like, oh, it's Dishonored 2, and then they start talking. It's like, oh, it's Dishonored 2.
Well, I didn't know this until today, but you know what happened yesterday, right?
Apparently there was some
kind of like Twitch stream test that they did, and then they forgot to turn it off. And then somebody was like, "So tomorrow we are talking about Dishonored 2," and they were like, "Oh yeah." Get up there. He's like, "Oh, I'm very excited to." That's my drunk French accent. So yeah,
wait, you're drunk?
No, I'm not drunk.
Oh, okay.
I'm not drunk.
Oh, you're saying that the guy was drunk.
The guy was drunk.
And you're doing an impersonation of him being drunk.
That guy drank like 5 beers.
Okay.
All right.
Just making sure.
I can't talk about him. I can only talk about myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, Dishonored 2, which it's funny. You and I were actually talking, and we were looking at like, what has Bethesda put out in the last year? And it was like Wolfenstein, probably not going to get a Wolfenstein 2. Evil Within, probably not going to get Evil Within 2.
Not yet, anyways.
The year before last, Dishonored, and then like before that, I think it was Skyrim was the year before that. So it's like, yeah, probably Dishonored 2.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to say right now that I like Dishonored. This is obviously some kind of pre-rendered like blur trailer bullshit. You're in like a more kind of tropical setting, I guess. You got some kind of like weird imperialist stuff. And
weird
then,
technology going on.
Yeah, a little bit more of that steampunk shit. But the main character in the trailer is a lady.
Yeah.
And like, hey, big spoiler alert, like jump forward a couple minutes, because I felt like they were shitty about this in the trailer, it's Emily from fucking Dishonored.
Yeah.
And apparently you can play as her or Corvo.
Yeah.
Which seems very weird to me because she's very young and Corvo at this point will be very old because he was like 30 in the last game when she was like 8.
Yes.
So,
I mean, she could be 18 now, so it's 10 years later, so he's 40.
Yeah, I guess 40 isn't old anymore. I mean, it was old in the time period.
But you know what I mean. I'm just saying, like, he's... I mean, you get what I'm saying, though.
Yeah. No, I get it. And it looks like she's got powers. She's got some Jackie Estacado, fucking Faith No More powers.
It seems like he got the ability to do certain things. She now has the ability to do certain things.
Right. Because there was that combination of steampunk stuff that fucking Grima Wormtongue was giving you, and then the devil powers, basically, that you were getting from Satan.
And she seems to have the same thing.
Yeah, she seems to have the same thing.
Though different powers.
I mean, this trailer is obviously pre-rendered, doesn't tell us a lot about it. Just tells us, like, yeah, it looks like more Dishonored.
Yeah.
Like, nothing that I'm seeing here is really all that much different than Dishonored 1.
Yeah, I didn't actually play Dishonored. Which is great, because, they also announced a Dishonored Definitive Edition coming out for Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PC.
What?
Yeah.
The HD upres of Dishonored with all the DLC for the... Oh, the hell you say. Nobody's ever done that before.
Yes. So, if you never played Dishonored, hope you didn't hear that spoiler earlier.
In quarter 2 of this year, I feel like every week one of the things that I'm playing is just an HD or PC or...
That is the future of gaming, Jeff. Every game you play, every other game you're going to play for the new console, for the current consoles, is going to be a HD definitive edition remake of a game that came out last generation.
All right, I know you're making a joke, but look.
No, I wasn't.
But look, if that's what we've got to do, if that's what we're doing nowadays, and if we're dealing with Dishonored and we're dealing with the Elder Scrolls and the PS4 and we're dealing with the HD upres of Payday 2 next week or whatever, right? Can I get some fucking Dark Souls 1 remaster? No, I even take that back. Can I get some goddamn Demon Souls in PS4 HD, please? Sony conference on Monday. Maybe by the time this comes out, they'll have already announced it.
Yeah. Well, and again, I'm kind of the way I see it, and this is as far as definitive edition goes. Last generation, when you go from PS2 to PS3, initially there was backwards compatibility.
Yep.
When you went from Xbox to Xbox 360, there was backwards compatibility through software.
Right.
The previous generation before that, you had Sony to PS2, you had backwards compatibility from PS1 to PS2.
Yep.
So now they've gone back to no backwards compatibility across the board.
Right.
Except for Nintendo, which you can play Wii games on Wii U if you whatever.
Yeah.
So I feel like all the major companies are like, well, people want to play these games on their new consoles because they're not going to have an Xbox 360 and an Xbox One hooked up to their TV. They're going to want to have one or the other. So why don't we re-release these games? They'll rebuy it so that they can play it on their new console, and we just give them all the DLC, and there you go.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's just from my perspective. Like, here's the thing. We're going off a little bit of a tangent here, but like today and maybe with the Oculus conference, but. And the games that they specifically announced at the Oculus conference. And then today, it's like, okay, last year's E3 was all good and everything. And I've railed before about, like, whenever you say anything, you say but. Whatever comes after the but is terrible.
Yeah.
Okay, last year's E3 was okay and everything, but it was shit. Because, I mean, what new IP was really announced last year? What, like, really dramatic new IP... okay, let me take it back. What dramatic new IP that we have in our hot little hands has been announced? And I like the fact that it's. I seem to be seeing a bunch of things that aren't sequels. And I every time I see a re-release, I hate it because they make a kind of a big deal about, oh, well, we put this out. It's like, yeah, I already have that on the PC where you can play it high resolution anyway, right?
Like, I've already had it. I don't want it again.
Exactly. Like I'm in all honesty, I'm a little pissy about Scholar of the First Sin because it's like I played a little bit of it. I didn't even beat it. I didn't even get all the way to the end of it. Like, it was just, I don't know. Anyway, next up in the Bethesda conference is Elder Scrolls Online, Tamriel Unlimited, which is...
I zoned out.
Yeah.
I tuned out and started going back to my WWE pay-per-view.
I'm afraid that I don't know enough about Elder Scrolls to really say for sure. I played a little bit of Elder Scrolls Online, but I bought the PS4 version. I did the whole like link up to my PC version.
Yeah.
They did not import Enrique Hollywood to my PS4 version. Exactly.
How are you going to play without Enrique Hollywood?
How am I going to be playing Elder Scrolls? I'm not going back and going through.
Suffer and succotash.
Yeah, exactly. I am not doing that. So you guys can do whatever you want to, but until Enrique Hollywood exists on my PlayStation 4, kind of go fuck yourself.
But they did announce that they're going after Hearthstone.
Oh, yeah.
Another We Want to Be Blizzard moment.
Yeah, congratulations.
Elder Scrolls, the card game, free for tablets and PC coming later this year or next year or whatever.
Yeah, good luck with that, Bethesda.
So we want those, but it's going to...
I went to go get another beer when they started this trailer. Did they actually show anything, or is it just
No, it's just
footage?
art. It's pre-rendered art
okay,
footage.
well, fucking... God damn it, Bethesda. Like,
again, it's like they're like, we want that Hearthstone money.
Okay, great, I guess.
Again,
whatever, but
this is sticking with my theory of Battle.net, Bethesda.net, because Bethesda.com is not their website. They don't own that domain. But Bethesda.net.
because it's like the Bethesda, Maryland, like civic site.
It's actually, if you go to Bethesda.com, it says it's for sale. There's nothing on it.
Come on, Bethesda.
Because I went to Bethesda.com during the thing to try to get the battle cry because I forgot what the link was. And then I had to actually go look at what the battle cry thing was, and then I was like, oh, okay, this is the link. And then it's like their actual name is like BethSoft.
Yeah, BethSoft.
But yeah, so now Bethesda.net and then now they have a Hearthstone style game, and then they have the arena style game.
Yeah. If it even is that. I was actually joking in the chat that I was like waiting for them to announce their MOBA as well before they ended. Because it's like, well, you've ripped off World of Warcraft, you've ripped off Hearthstone, so you might as well rip off Dota as well.
I mean, come on, everyone else has.
Yeah. So, all right.
And then they did this joke where they're like, that's the end of the show, everybody.
I want to take just a second to say this is one of the oldest and most lame jokes of all time.
It really is.
It's really like, yes, ha ha, yes. Just please get on with it. Like, no. Like, if they actually, I tell you what, if you actually want to do that, Bethesda, I'll give you guys a little tip for next year for all of you Bethesda executives listening to my podcast.
Don't release a fucking trailer before the.
No. Say, get this guy, get your main dev up on stage, right? And say, and here's Fallout 4. And then release like a bunch of footage that's rendered in the Fallout 3 engine and looks like shit. For like a minute, right? For like 60 seconds. And then like stop and just go like, oh, wait, that was Fallout 3. Hold on. And then like switch over to Fallout 4. Boom, you're good to go. Because that whole like, well, we're done now. Like if they had actually gone to their after coverage.
Actually, I think would have been funnier.
That would have been
because
legit.
They started off the Fallout thing by showing like art. Like,
oh, yeah.
Like if they had shown that and then went, and that's all the coverage we have.
Yep.
And then like as he started to walk off stage, he goes, oh, actually, wait, there is one other thing.
Yep. Because I can tell you what, I feel like a little bit. I've been a little bit crapping on Bethesda for their conference. It was okay.
It's actually a good conference.
If what everything that we have said was the entirety of their conference, it would have been like, that's okay. Right?
There was no mic drop moment.
Right. Yet. And then Fallout 4 started, and they started with these bullshit screenshots, and it was bullshit, and whatever.
It was basically them showing art, and then they showed, they kind of...
Again, spoiler a little bit, if you're trying to avoid shit from Fallout, is maybe skip forward like 5 minutes or so, because they showed the fact that apparently the whole game starts out before the bombs drop.
Basically the day the bombs drop, essentially.
Right. And so your whole character creation engine is like, you stand in front of the mirror, it's real weird, and apparently you can pick
there's
whether...
no sliders,
you just click on stuff and kind of drag stuff, and then like you switch between the dude and the lady.
Yeah. So like you can actually change the way both of them look, and then when you're done, whoever you exit the mirror as is the character you play as. So that's how you choose whether you play as a male or female.
Right.
What I thought was really hilarious. So they do the guy, and they're like, look at all these options and things you can change.
Right.
And then with the woman, they're like, let's just change her nose. Okay, we're done.
Right. And then, then with the guy, they switch back to like the default character model before they're done.
Yeah.
So you get to walk around the house. They show you a few things. They're like, oh, look, it's Mr. Handy. And, oh, look, here's some sugar bombs. And, oh, look. And then a guy comes to the door, and he's like, hey, do you want to get in the vault? I'm selling vault insurance. And that's where you basically do your stat adjustments.
Yeah.
And then one of the things that I will say that I liked is the fact that I feel like I think I'm remembering this correctly, and you were here when I was playing Fallout 3.
Yes.
Pretty sure that in Fallout 3, your stats all start at 5, and then you get like 7 points to like add.
Yes, but you can subtract from the 5 as well.
I like the fact that this starts at 1. I mean, that's, it may be a minuscule thing. But also, is it weird that the guy that comes to your door kind of looks like the mysterious stranger from Fallout 3?
A little bit.
A little bit. Also, I'm going to ask you right now, is that you were making some disparaging remarks about the faces in Fallout 3. What do you think about what the faces look like here?
You know what? I think they look good. I mean, I think that still they have a thing with mouth movement that doesn't look right.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think this... Here's the thing. I even said with the trailer, when the trailer that came out, I said, it looks good, but I don't know how... I mean, the character models look like shit.
Right.
That's what I said. The character models look like shit.
Right.
And... now having seen this actual footage play, I take it all back. It looks good.
Take it all back.
I take it all back. It looks good.
Gentlemen.
I take it all back. It looks really good. I'm excited to play this. I want it in my hands now.
Yep.
I want it,
Well, let's move down. Let's move down the list, right? So we go through this beginning part. It's a big old fucking spoiler, and then our dude comes out into the wasteland. He's walking around. He's talking to Mr. Handy. He's coming out of the vault.
finds a dog.
There's obviously like the lighting engine here looks really good.
It's really good.
Again, I'm going to reiterate what I was talking about on a podcast before, where like all this stuff to me looks very much like this. Like if you had told me that this whole thing was some kind of like total conversion, like 5-year fan project for Fallout 3, I could kind of believe it because. Like when you look at like what they've done with Skyrim on the PC, like it looks fucking fantastic.
Yeah,
and this looks fucking fantastic. You've got nice lighting engine. You've got all these like dialogue options. The HUD and everything is very
one of the
clean.
things I like about this is if you actually look at Fallout 3, it's filled with a lot of brown, a lot of gray, a lot of just.
A lot of green. Everything is kind of tinted green in Fallout 3.
Yeah, but it's a very dark green. Like it's a weird green. Like it's the Pip-Boy color green.
Yeah.
Here though. There's bright blues. There's just multiple colors. Like it feels colorful. Like I don't see yes, things look dilapidated or rusted and things like that. But you still get a sense of there's color in the world.
Yeah, or at least there was. I mean,
at least there was, and you're looking at it with fresh eyes or whatever from the future.
Yeah.
But it looks like the lighting. I think looks better. Like the sky looks more blue than the previous games, and it looks like it. The more I see it, it's like the more it's like, I want to play this game.
Also, I'm going to say this right now. There was a bunch of people that were disparaging the dog in the initial trailer for Fallout 4. Fuck those guys.
That dog's awesome.
That dog is awesome.
Not since Fable have I enjoyed the companion of a dog.
He looks so happy, and some people were like, it doesn't look as good as the dog in Call of Duty Ghosts.
Go fuck yourself.
Well, no, here's the thing. Did you play Call of Duty Ghosts?
Nope.
Okay. The dog was in like 2 missions, right? Like this looks like you're going to have this dog through the entire goddamn game. You can send him to fetch stuff, which you could do in Fallout 3, but like he seems so happy. He seems so happy to be in the wasteland. He's got his doggy head cock. It makes me smile. He's got
little feet patsies. He's like, I'm so happy.
And then, oh my god, and then there's like mole rats, and you're shooting at the mole rats. So
the dog's attacking the mole rats.
So we got the whole HUD here. This HUD is almost exactly the same as the one from Fallout. The only thing I could say that's entirely different is the fact that there's now a crit meter. That it seems like you can actually pick. Or you can actually see like what percentage you have for crits when you're picking out your VAT shots. Because they're totally VAT shots. We've seen mole rats. We've seen death claws. We've seen rad scorpions, a bunch of different stuff. We'll kind of go into that a little bit. It looks like a pretty functional first-person shooter if you're not using the VATs.
Yeah.
I like how much animation there is. Like in the VATs, the character, like it seems like in the VATs it's in super slow motion instead of stopped.
Yeah.
And even in the menus where you have like the Pip-Boy stuff, like all the Pip-Boy seems to be animated, like even when they're
well,
assigning
it's like
stats.
because like when they show the Pip-Boy and we're when they show it, you actually see his hand on the edge of the Pip-Boy, and when you change menus, you're actually seeing his hand move dials and stuff so that you can see what he's doing to make those changes on the screen.
Right.
Which I thought was really, really, it's a small thing. They didn't have to do that. They could have just done like they did in the previous one, where they full screen the Pip-Boy and you get everything.
Yeah.
You don't have to see what he's doing with his hands, but in this you do. So I mean, it's really just the small touches.
Yeah. No.
That I really like.
And I mean, again, guys, just stop listening to me if you think Jeff's not Fallout fanboy. Fine, whatever. I don't give a fuck. This game is legitimately exciting to me, and I don't have a lot of criticism to have about it. Like we're watching this part right now where it's like you're in Fenway Stadium, you've got super mutants, you've got there's actually a point very briefly later on. Actually, let's just go down the line the way that it goes. So this is kind of like just an environmental sizzle trailer. And at the end, it shows this shot of like what looks like a lot of Boston, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like not, even the DC wasteland was like a wasteland that had pockets of stuff in it.
It was
like
sectioned off.
Legitimate city, going on here. So from there, go fuck yourself, Bethesda. From there, Bethesda decided to make the only thing in the entire... Okay, let's start with
they're showing what the new Pip-Boy looks like.
Here's
the new version
Pip-Boy.
of the Pip-Boy, which is where I was talking about when they actually show what it looks like
Yep.
and what it looks like when you're controlling it.
Yep. It's got games.
You can play games on it.
Put games on it and stuff, and it's basically your HUD
like
interface.
one of the games is essentially Donkey Kong.
Right. The other one was Missile Command.
Yeah.
Right. It's the Pip-Boy. It's how you're going to go ahead and roll through all of your different selections. And then after that was go fuck yourself, Bethesda, because they announced that they're going to have a
collector's edition.
Oh wait, hold on. Sorry, leather. There's. Okay, I'm sorry. I gotta. I'm such a Fallout fiend. I gotta go into like the details of this. Hold on, we'll get to that in just a second.
Okay.
So here's the Pip-Boy, and as they go through the screens, we can see stats, and then let's see. Go on to the next thing, buddy. They actually said when they were going through this, you can have layered armor.
Yeah.
So I think that like you can have like your base suit then plus other stuff.
They showed him walking around and he had his vault suit on, and then there was also like it was like it had straps around it,
right?
Which I assume was like another layer of armor,
right? Which is cool. I mean, like any amount of detail that you can add to that, and then what is this? Inventory, miscellaneous. Oh, these are the games. Okay. I see that there is definitely a encumbrance still in there, right?
Yeah.
Factored into it. But yeah, there's Donkey Kong. You can play Donkey Kong. You can play Space Invaders. Was it Space Invaders or other stuff? But then go fuck yourself. All right. So then we're finally to go fuck yourself, because if you get the collector's edition of fucking Fallout, they will give you a goddamn Pip-Boy.
A real Pip-Boy that you can insert your phone into.
Yep. And you can put an app on it, and apparently, like they said, it's a second screen
experience. And they said on the same day that the game comes out, there'll be a second screen app called basically Fallout Pip-Boy or whatever they call it, in which you don't have to have this collector's edition Pip-Boy thing. You don't have to have it. All you have to have is a phone. It's either Android or iOS, and the screen will look like a Pip-Boy, and it'll be a second screen experience. I'm assuming it'll just be the Pip-Boy on your tablet or cell phone.
I'm going to say right now that if I can switch between weapons and like manage my inventory on a thing that's on my arm, I will duct tape my cell phone to my arm if that's what it takes.
Yeah.
Because that's hot shit.
Yeah.
Like, I don't. Man, I don't.
I want this collector's edition. I want the collector's edition just for that.
John, I don't.
But here's the thing I'm curious about.
Yeah.
Because they made it sound like, because they never said, oh, it'll only work with iOS phones.
Right.
Because essentially it's just the way you open it. They did show it the way when you open it. It's what it is that your phone sits in front of the screen.
Right.
So your phone is the screen in the Pip-Boy.
Right.
And I'm wondering what phones will fit in there.
Yeah.
Because, like, for example, my phone is bigger than an iPhone. Is my phone going to fit in that?
My phone's bigger than an iPhone. Will my phone fit in there?
Yeah.
Well, actually, the newer iPhones are about as big as both of our phones.
Sort of, yeah.
Ish. But yeah, that might be I might end up buying a collector's edition.
Yeah. No, same here. Same here.
Fuck, man. I don't wanna. I've spent so long railing against it. I don't wanna, but goddamn.
But they also announced something else for tablets.
Again, John.
And before we went on break,
you're gonna have to go fuck yourself.
I downloaded it to my iPad while we were sitting here, and I played just a little bit of it. I was playing actually a little bit of it while we came back.
You're a jerk.
But I was just playing like the opening tutorial area, which is called Fallout Shelter, in which it's basically just a production manager game. Like you're a surveyor of a shelter.
It seems like a tiny Death Star.
Yeah,
kind of,
yeah.
Yeah.
So you're kind of, or tiny tower, or something like that, where you create rooms, and then you get vault dwellers and assign them to the rooms, and then you can send them out to go get resources or whatever, and things like that. It seems really cool.
Yeah, I agree.
It's free to play.
Yeah,
that's the big thing. It's free to play. It's available to download right now. So if you're listening to this, you can go download it if you haven't.
If you have an iOS device,
if you're on iOS device, it's adorable looking and cute in the style, and you get to choose your vault number if you want, and then and so it's kind of cool in that regards. It is going to have some microtransactions, but it's not like timed microtransactions. Like they basically said
they made a big point about that.
Yeah, they're like, look, it's not. You can also play it offline, which is another big thing. You don't have to be connected to the internet to play it. So it's not it's not time based. But if you wanted to buy some stuff to get better stuff faster, you could do that. But you don't have to.
And I want to play it so bad because I'm a fiend for all things Fallout.
I'm going to be playing it probably a little bit later.
You know what I'm going to do, John? You know what I'm going to do?
What are you going to do?
I'm gonna. I'd never beat Fallout 2.
Yeah?
Beat Fallout 1, beat Fallout 3. Tried to play New Vegas, didn't care for it. I'm going to go beat Fallout 2. I usually about halfway through Fallout 2, and then I kind of just like lose my steam. I'm going to beat Fallout 2 next week. I don't got anything on deck. It's nothing but HD re-releases. All right, so then after that, we went on to
a little bit more. They show the construction thing. It kind of reminds me of it's essentially the snap maps thing, except for Fallout, and it's actually a game mechanic that they said you can do in the game or you cannot do, but you can create a base.
I feel like you're selling this shit real short, man.
Am I?
Yeah, snap maps. That's just like a, hey, share this thing with your friends. This is going to be like, this is more like a what do they call it? Hearthstone in Skyrim, where you have a place and you can create not just a house, but an entire community. And not just a single house, but you can populate it with a bunch of shit.
Yes.
Basically, the way that it comes down to is that there's a bunch of different things in the world. The example they give is tires that you can break down and then take those materials.
Now, I actually I like that.
Yeah, well, that's similar to kind of how it was in Hearthstone, where you can get stuff and then you can use that stuff to build a house, and then you can use that stuff. Also, they say that like as your house gets bigger, you're going to be attracting people to this community. You can buy crops to get more people. You can and then there's also going to be like raider attacks once your town gets big enough.
It's almost a second game.
Yeah. It's like a tower defense thing where you can set up defenses, you can set up like automated turrets and stuff, and you can it's kind of that whole like everybody wants to have Minecraft in their game thing, where you can kind of build your own shit. And I'm looking forward to having my own apocalyptic wasteland.
No. And I may be selling it short, and I do apologize about that. I mean, I don't mean to sell it short. But but I did like the fact they said you can do this in the game, or you don't have to do this in the game. You can actually play the entire game without ever having to do any of that.
Yeah.
But also, what you mentioned is that you can take stuff that you find in the game and like break it down and use components of it to build something else. Crafting, essentially, which is part of what this is. And I think that's great because one of the big annoyances in Fallout 3 was that, they made a big deal. You can take everything. You can pick up pretty much anything. If it's in the world, you can pick it up.
Yeah.
And same with Skyrim or whatever. But it's like, okay, I picked that stuff up. What do I do with it?
Actually, that's a good segue into the next thing, because the next thing that they talked about was not necessarily this home crafting. It was weapon crafting.
Yeah.
And the way that they showed that you can do the weapon crafting is that you can kit out your weapon with different stocks, barrels, sights, all kinds of shit. Like they basically kind of took the New Vegas style of that stuff and they put it into Fallout. But then the thing is that like if you're gonna make a sight, it's like what's the Daisy Maverick Xbox One game, zombies jump on their heads, you make smoothies.
Dead
Frank
Island?
West.
No. Oh, Dead Rising.
Dead Rising. Dead Rising 3 had this thing where eventually you could do an upgrade, right? That meant so that you didn't have to get a specific ingredient to make a weapon, right? You just had to have something that was in that category. So, like, if you have any of these things that are all electronics and any of these things that are all this and any of these things that are all this, you can make your thing. And that seems to be what they're doing here.
Yes.
Which is great because, as you said, 90% of the shit in the Fallout world is pretty much useless.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get your rocket launcher and you can put the cars in there and shoot them at things. But for the most part, mostly useless. Like, by the time you get to about an hour into the game, you're just like, well, I'm not picking anything up that's not, a health pack.
Yeah,
or
that's
ammo.
not, detrimental.
Right.
Yeah. Which now it's like, oh, no, I want to take that toy car because the wheels can be used to make the dial on sniper scope.
Yep. And they have a little montage where they show them making a bunch of different guns.
Jeff, they showed a baseball bat being modified in many, many different ways.
Yep. With saw blades on it. Yep. They
modified a baseball bat, Jeff.
Yep, they put saw blades on a baseball bat. I know. You're freaking my dog out. He's not sure what's going on. No, it's incredible. I mean, like, this is definitely the kind of depth to weapons that you needed in this game. Because in the previous game, you had all these weapons you could just repair. So by the midpoint of the game, you were just using the same weapon you're going to use to the end. And here you can really, really get into personalizing your weapons. You can also get really into personalizing your armor, which is great because by about halfway through the game, I think that I didn't really give a shit about... there got to be a point where I didn't really give too much of a shit about the armor that I had in the game.
Oh, yeah, about the...
Well, at a certain point, the power armor is all right, but you're just like, hey, some of this other stuff is also interesting. But here, at the end of this little montage, they have... you get to see... actually, like from the trailer, this kind of hung up set of power armor where you can get the power armor and you can basically kit out all the different pieces of it to make it your own power armor.
Yeah.
Which is great. All this means that you're going to have your own Wasteland experience, and I think that's fucking awesome. From there, we had a little bit of a montage that was kind of just doing stuff in the world.
Yeah.
And
blowing stuff up, shooting stuff.
That was also great. It showed a bunch of different costumes. You had some kind of Wasteland stuff.
With some music.
With some great music. And you had some miniguns. You had some VAT shots.
He was wearing a bear mask.
Yep, bear mask. You had all kinds of good stuff. There's one part where he shoots a teddy bear out of what I assume is the rocket launcher, fast enough to blow somebody's head off. There's some mechs. There's some like wild animals. There's all kinds of just like different stuff. Fucking game looks amazing, all right?
It does.
Like, it's just
really does.
Really looks good.
Like, I'm like, man.
The only thing that they didn't show that I really would have liked to have seen, and it would have taken 1 second, is that in Fallout 3, when you were using a melee weapon and you went into the VAT system, you had one target. That target was other person, right? In the previous Fallout games, you could target through the previous turn-based system, like, I want to swing my bat at your head. I want to swing my bat at your hand to knock your weapon out of your hand. Like, I want to swing my bat at your legs so you can't get away, right? I hope that they do that. I can't see any reason why they wouldn't. But other than that, they also showed a whole bunch of shots of, like, the power armor has its own HUD, I guess.
Yeah, it does.
Like, it definitely seems like the sort of thing that you're going to use sometimes, but not all the time. Which is great. I think that's good. I think it's. I think that'd be pretty spiffy. Just a bunch of different stuff. I mean, they just showed a whole bunch of different stuff, and it all looked really fun. It all looked really fantastic. Stuff on your face, chopping people up, enemies, death claws picking you up.
Yeah.
Fucking Bloodborne style. Calling a
drop ship.
Yeah, calling like a chop, like a Brotherhood of Steel or like a
for your
an
dog
Enclave
and
chopper. There was even a part where they showed the power armor and it had a fucking jetpack on it.
Yeah.
What? That's fucking incredible. I love it. Like it all looks so good. It all looks so good. I don't even know what that thing that just crashing into the ground
Zeppelin.
is. Yeah, nukes the little boy or whatever. There's even an orbital strike at some point in there. It all just looks absolutely goddamn fantastic. And then I think that was about the end, right?
Yeah, no, that was pretty much it.
Oh, wait, except for one more thing. Guess what?
Anybody who was there got little plastic toys.
No, fuck that. That's not worth dropping a microphone over.
Oh.
What's the release date for Fallout 4?
Oh, yeah.
November of this goddamn year.
Yeah.
Eat a dick, Batman. Actually, it just makes my job harder because it means that I have to put Fallout goddamn 4 in the running with Bloodborne and Batman, and everything else is coming out this year.
Yeah.
Witcher 3, fucking all those things for what was the best game that I played this entire year.
Yeah, and I think, well, here's the thing. I said, like, if they want to do, if they're, since they released the trailer early, and I don't remember if I said this in one of the videos that we played or if it was in something else. May not have been. But I was like, well, they've already shot their load with the trailer.
Right.
So we're going to get gameplay footage. That's a given. What is their mic drop thing? And I'm like, well, it's going to have to be that it comes out this year. And I was like, but I don't think they're going to do it. I don't think they're going to do it. It's going to be March of next year. It's got to be March of next year. Proven wrong.
You know what? That's what I love about this particular conference and Bethesda in general is that they had to go back 5 years and do an old school E3 mic drop of like, look at this shit and then look at this shit and here's this iPhone app game that's available right now and then here's this shit, here's the beta for this thing, here's the new Doom game, and oh yeah, by the way, Fallout 4 comes out this year. Boom, I'm out. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Like that was. Like if you had asked me, in fact, I think you did ask me, and I think I even said it on podcast. I didn't think there was any way we were going to see Fallout 4 this year.
Yeah,
they would announce it this year, put it out next year, right in March when they don't have to compete with anything. It's coming out in November. That's primetime Battlefield. That's when Call of Duty comes out.
Yeah,
like, that's when the shit all drops. Is right before Christmas. Like Bethesda's putting their nuts right out there, and there's some pretty big balls.
Yeah,
there's some pretty big balls. So. I'm going to give this press conference a 4.25 out of 5. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, that's not bad.
I mean, like the Fallout 4
it wasn't like a full-on like, oh my god, everything they talked about was so amazing.
Exactly.
It was. There were some things that were like, well, I'm skeptical of that, or that seems like a misstep.
I'm going to tell you right now, the Fallout 4 stuff, I was just fucking losing my mind during.
Yeah,
right.
Everything Fallout 4 was great.
Right. Doom, I'm like. It looks good. Need to see more. Need to play it. It's one of those things where I wish that I was at E3 to go to their booth and be like, "Let me play this," and then I can tell people what it really.
And then they'd be like, "No,
right?
There is no playing this."
Dishonored 2, we didn't see any gameplay for, and then the rest of it is.
We didn't even give a release date for it either.
Oh yeah. It's I would say mid to late next year.
And if I remember correctly, was Doom spring of next year?
Yes.
Yeah.
But you know what? Other than that. Great. I mean, as a hey, here's your first conference. I'll tell you what. I've seen Konami conferences that were like 10 years into Konami doing conferences that were not nearly as good as what they had right there.
Has Konami ever done a good conference?
Well, when they show the Metal Gear trailers, I like it. That's about it. And with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up, folks. I'm not going to say I'm going to try to get a podcast out every day, but the coverage here is a little bit spotty. And I can't.
I can only record on so many days, unfortunately.
I know, and I can't talk about how many days my dog's going to get drunk where we can't record. So, but this has been day -1. I'm going to try to get something out for each day. Like the day 0 podcast may come out on day 1, right? Or may come out on day 2, right?
Yeah.
But whatever it is, I want to try to go down the line and have people. And last year, I know that there are a lot of the podcasts that we did. People didn't watch everything. And so that's the thing is that I want to give the folks that are coming on the show time to watch all of the conferences before they talk about them. So I'm going to be in the chat all week if this comes out on day 1.
I'll be in the chat sporadically because unfortunately for most of the stuff during the day I'm at work, so I can't be in the chat for the Microsoft one or the EA one. or
probably the PlayStation one, probably Sony.
Yeah, well, the Sony one's in the evening. So Sony one's like late in the evening, but at the same time, there's also Raw. I have to watch my wrestling.
Come on, John. Commit.
I have another podcast that I do that's all about wrestling. Leave me alone.
This is why I don't run a comics podcast, folks. But you know what? That's pretty much it. You know what? Well, before we leave, one last thing. I had a lot of people in the chat over on Rage Select who said Bethesda just won E3. What do you think? What do you think? I mean, this is way ahead of time. There's a bunch of stuff we don't know about.
So can I say something?
Okay, say something.
In the term of this one press conference won and everything else lost.
Oh, don't be like that.
I think that's bullshit.
Don't be like that. Come on.
No. Now, if you ask in the terms of this one, like everybody can win and everyone can lose.
Right.
Like all the press conferences could be considered a win because did this get me excited?
Right.
Then yes, it won.
Totes win.
It won because I got excited. I'm excited about stuff. I'm excited to buy the products that they're selling me.
Okay.
Now, is it oh my God, they just made a press conference that no one else is going to be able to keep up with?
Right.
Who the fuck cares?
Okay. All right. Let me ask you a question. Okay. I just want a probability. All right. I'm not asking you to say who won or who lost. All I want to say is we have a full day of conferences from other people.
Yeah.
And then a half day of conferences from even more people.
Yeah.
What is your percent? What probability do you think there is that we are going to see an announcement as startling as the fact that Fallout 4 is coming out this year?
50-50.
50-50. Okay.
I mean, and in all honesty, I'm going to be honest here. I feel like Microsoft might have something up their sleeve.
Yeah.
And that's
no
why
scale down, no crackdown.
No scale down, no crackdown, no quantum break.
Right.
I feel like they've got something up their sleeve that's not Gears remastered.
Okay.
Or a new Gears game.
Yeah.
Even though I think that may be up their sleeve, and they're just like, yeah, focus on the Geared remastered leaks.
Up their sleeve, yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're like, focus on that Gears remastered leak while we get the big announcement ready. But I feel like they might have something up their sleeve, but I just don't know if it's gonna hit on the level that this did.
Jet Grind Radio 3. That's it. That's a killer app.
I feel like Sony probably has something up their sleeve.
Dark Souls 3 Xbox One exclusive. And then I tear this entire world down to the ground, and then we're in the Fallout future.
Here's a question.
Yeah.
Dark Souls 3 Xbox One exclusive. Let's just theorize.
I own an Xbox One.
Yeah, you own an Xbox One. Let's theorize. That's announced.
Okay.
And then Sony announces Demon Souls 2.
It's a terrible time in your hypothetical future to be Jeff, and they all come out in November. And which one are you going to play first? I don't know. But thank you guys for listening. We're going to wrap it up. It's very late here, and we will talk to you at some later date, which is yet to be announced. So good night, everybody.
Later.
It's all over. But the cry.
We do have coming in confirmed reports of nuclear detonations.
My God. Our soldiers will raid. War.